Hello everyone, I am live in Barcelona at the Mobile World Congress 2024. This is my first time I've ever been to Barcelona, first time in Spain actually as well. It's a beautiful city, but all things here at this particular very tech-forward conference and very mobile-oriented congress is all about AI. And we've heard about AI, artificial intelligence, but what can AI do for you? Is it good? Is it bad? These are things that I learned this week, and I want to go through the pros and the cons so that this can be digestible to you and what your everyday life is going to be like. So let's go over the pros. So AI can help your efficiency, your time management, your productivity. You can get things like a virtual assistant. There will be virtual employees, digital employees coming soon. It can reduce tediousness and redundancy, so it makes your day a lot more productive, your workflow more productive. Exactness of medical diagnoses and treatments. The speed of treatment, which could reduce death. Think about an ambulance drone. That is a reality coming very soon. Or robotics for medicine, surgical accuracy. When people need a medical diagnosis or treatment fast, you might not see a doctor. You might actually see an AI-generated robot that can be exact with the treatment and exact also with the diagnosis. So we have to consider the fact that you might not see a real human doctor, particularly if you need more speed. Other things like speed and latency of information. So latency means the lapse of time between when you want the information and when actually it's processed back to you. Speed is going to increase, latency is going to be very, 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 very tight. Across the world connectivity with no delay. We're talking about real-time processing. Maybe this prevents a car accident. You could have an AI assistant that would tell you, hey, there's a pothole ahead to avoid. Hey, there's a car coming from an opposite direction. You need to avoid this car. So that's a practical application that I think is a pro. If you want this show right now that I'm broadcasting to you right now, broadcast in 50 languages in real time, you can do it. You can create a digital version of myself that's broadcast in the exact language and dialect of certain parts of India, certain parts of Russia, certain parts of Nepal. That's an incredible part. I can record what's called a 3D volumetric video. That's a 3D video of my mom reading a book to my son, and years later, I can replay it time and time again. So there's two aspects of that. There's the preservation aspect that is artificial, I suppose, and then there's also still the intimacy and valuable aspect of that. Think about it. It's artificial, but it's also real because it's my mom reading to my son, which we can replicate anytime we want. Okay, so let's talk about the entertainment world. You know, Billy Joel just recently released a music video where they used AI to go back in time to show him at different periods of his career. The Beatles also revived John Lennon, and they used AI for that music video, which is a great use of the technology. But the questions become, who owns the rights to a dead person's likeness and voice? That's going to be a potential legal problem as we move forward. So now I want to transition from the pros into the cons. The big one to me is a replacement of God. They posit that there is no need for a God if you have AI. So God becomes AI. There's also the replacement of human interaction. There is actually a female Spanish artist that will be the first to marry an AI hologram. So as you think about this image that I've seen in the magazine here at MWS, which is a robotic finger reaching out to a female finger, that's supposed to be God reaching out to man, but it's not now. It's AI, robot reaching out to a woman. And I thought about that. It didn't really hit me at first. But that's the replacement of human interaction. It's now man-robot or female-robot interaction. So that's a replacement of the natural order of things. In fact, it may say to women, you don't need a man anymore. You not only do you not need God, you don't need man. So there's also an intentional insertion of bias. There were a lot of breakout sessions about bias that's in AA. How do we get rid of bias? Can that bias get rid of human bias? And that's problematic to me because it can reprogram the way that people think. They'll change society by reprogramming AI to reprogram you. So if they don't like how you think, they're going to figure out a way to basically edit you out, delete. Or they'll reprogram your brain to think the way they... So for every AI computation, there is a human behind it. So there has to be a sense of intentionality behind it. It's not happenstance. There's also going to be a new level of legal battles. I mentioned some of them earlier. There's going to be the real estate around you. As these wearable devices, things like a Pocket Square, for instance, that would have AI in it. It's recording everything you do. Who owns the air around me right now? What's above me, what's around me? That's going to be a potential legal battle. And then things like the consent of people to be artificially replicated. Things like deepfakes, which we've already seen in the political realm. Think about that as we get closer to election time. The newest generation, which my son was born in just recently, is called Gen Alpha. And although he's not old enough to appreciate it yet, Gen Alpha accepts the virtual world as interlinked with the real world. They are one and the same. It's not like my generation where there's virtual and there's real. These are very intertwined for Generation Alpha, which means that children are going to be a lot more impressionable. So the takeaway I'm taking from that is tech will parent your kid if you don't. Tech will replace your parenting. That's an important implication. There's also the cozy bedfellows of Chinese technology and American technology. That's honestly a little too close for my comfort. The cost of tech will be about more control and about more regulation. AI is a very consumptive thing. For instance, for every AI query, it's about 2 hours of a light bulb being used. So that's very energy consumptive. So you're going to see a lot of push for green energy, and how do we make this sustainable? How do we help the climate? And so with that means more global control over your life. There is a misunderstanding out there. I've heard it said that AI will solve all of our problems. Well, it's only going to solve some of your problems, but it also can create new problems, and that's another con I want to talk about. New problems of ethics and societal manipulation and control. So as an example, there's a robo-dog that's going around right now. You've seen it probably before. It looks very much like a dog. So if that dog on the street, this robo-dog, can stop murder and assault and violence, I'm all for it. But if that same dog is now preventing my movement during a pandemic, or preventing my speech, or God forbid, arresting me for my speech, then it becomes a problem. So with AI, I see that there are two paths basically. One is that you either embrace it and you learn how to use it and harness it to your benefit, or you can reject it and you'll be phased out and left in the dust. So it's not going away. It is here to stay. MWC theme, I would say, one of them overall is the earth as a service. I don't know if you've heard that word before, but the earth as a service. I overheard that. I also overheard as I was passing down the escalator, just caught my ear, technology is in our DNA. Now, I think the guy meant it figuratively, meaning like we are now predisposed to using technology. It's second nature. But now we're getting very literal about that, where the tech is embedded in our DNA, literally. And you have to think about, in the hindsight of COVID, what that means in the rearview mirror. The technology is embedded and intertwined with our actual DNA. The big also theme I heard from one of the big speakers here is we have the power to change the world. We have the power to change the world. They know they have that power. They're very well aware of it. We can't stop it, but we can watch every move, we can be vigilant, and we can react accordingly. I'm Bo, here at Mobile World Conference 2024 in Barcelona.